Hi, I'm Phyllis from the Doll Corner, and welcome to my channel. And today I want to show you how I made this little A-line petticoat, or slip, whatever you want to call it. And I used my basic pattern book, and I drew out, I looked through it, and this is a 15-inch doll, little girl doll. So I picked out a pattern here that's for a 12 to 14-inch little girl doll. And I trace it. I just trace around here. And that's the bodice part. And then I took and traced this, you can see. But then I had to make some adjustments with it. And by just taking my pattern book and tracing around, then my book is left all together. And this is what it looks like traced out. So then my doll is 9 inches from here to the length of the skirt I want. And then I want a little bit of a flare. I took my measurement of my hip. My hip measurement is 8 inches. So this is a quarter of it, so that it's basically 2 inches at the hip measurement I want. But then I have to allow for the seam allowance, which would be a 1/2 inch, and then I want a little bit of ease in there. So I'm going out 2.5 inches at this point. And this is, so I draw this line down here, and then I take this, and I have, this is my 2.5 inch mark, and I go down 7 inches here. No, I didn't do that quite right. This is the mark I wanted. And this one. So that gives me 2.5 inches in here. And then the bottom, I don't want to make a straight line, so I have to sort of ease this across like that. And for this is the petticoat, so we want a bigger neckline. So this is the original, because we don't want it to show above the dress. So if you are making a dress, you'd want to take this neckline. So I opened this up a little bit more, and this, so I've got a narrower shoulder seam here. Because if it was out here, if you have a gathered sleeve, you get a lot of extra bulk in here. You don't want that, so your bulk will be out here and your petticoats will be here. And then you just do the same thing with the back. You cut your neckline bigger, you ease this out, and you draw your line down here. And this should match up exactly here and here. And when I get them done, this is my pattern. When I've got it cut out, I cut this one on the fold, and this is the back. And this one's about a little more than 1/2 inch bigger for a seam down the back, or an opening in the back, so you have to finish that. Now this is what it looks like. I sewed my shoulder seams together. And I finished this in 2 or 3 different ways. I did an overcast stitch here, or I could have serged it. This one, I took this edge and I just folded it in and stitched it down with a narrow seam all along here. And then for the neck, I put a ribbon around here just to cover up the... Now I could have taken a piece of lace and just covered that up. Just a slight gather to it, just enough so that it will kind of lie flat around there. You could gather it, but it might interfere with the dress that she'll be wearing at some point. So then when that's all finished, now I did take and I serged this edge up here because it was fraying something awful, this material, so I didn't want it to... Normally, I would have just serged it when I finished sewing it, but I did both seams because I was for a demonstration, so I didn't want it all frays. So when that's... And then I took and turned this under and took this stitch in, and this will be my back seam. And then you see that's what it looks like when I have it sewn up the seams. Then I leave the back seam open and I sew my lace on or hem it, or however I decide I'm going to finish it. What I did with this one, I serged along the bottom, and then with right sides together I just stitched along the bottom edge. And then I turned this over. Whoops. I turned this back over, so this is the right side of my lace, and then just took a stitch, stitched around here. Now this down the center, when I was making it, I made it a little wide, so I put this tucked down the front, and it looks nice. Sometimes if you're not sure, I always like to make it a wee bit bigger. I can always take it in. Usually I can take it in one way or another. But if I make it too small, then it's not any good. So anyway, now if I'm going to make her a dress with this same pattern, I know I have to take it in this much. Now I'll show this to you on her. I put a little hook and loop tape to hold it. Hook snaps might be nice too along the back. So it fits her pretty nice. And you see she has enough give that when you want to set her up, it doesn't bind across the back here. It's enough looseness that she can sit. Now there are several other ways of making petticoats from the same basic bodice pattern. Let's see. This won't fit her, of course. This is an off-white, and I made all these little tucks, and that makes it sit out nice and firm. So if she's got a full dress on it, it won't. And then I made the pantaloons to match, and there'll be a ribbon go through here. This is a half slip. I just sewed the elastic on the same as I do for panties. But if you wanted to, you could make a casing and run the elastic through. Let's see. This is another one that I made for a full skirt. This is a kind of a firm lace, and it sticks out nice. This one needs a closure on the back. This one doesn't fit this doll, it's too big. This is another way of making the skirt stand out, is to put a ruffle. Maybe you should put your lace here, then your ruffle on, and I use some ribbon to hide this because her dress was blue for that dress, for this outfit. Or you could put a piece of lace to cover that edging up. Let's see. Here is one that I made. She has a V down here. And this is her train. Now I'll show you her petticoat. It's got the ruffle on it, just a little bit shorter than the dress. It's hard to tell one. Let's put this in here. Then you can see the front. That's her pantaloons. So you can tell how much longer it is than the front. I brought the V down to match the front of the dress. Now it's a good idea to take this about a half an inch, quarter of an inch below the waistline of the dress. This is higher up than this, because this was too much fullness. If you had all this fullness right at the same level as through here, it wouldn't look as nice. So this way, if it's a little bit lower, the petticoat, then it doesn't show that you don't have the bulk in there. So that's how I make little petticoat. Now I have another video, maybe a couple, on how to make petticoats, but I've never made an Aline one before on my videos. So if you found this helpful, give me a thumbs up. Be sure and subscribe. Touch the bell. Give me a thumbs up. And thanks for watching. Bye now.